You know that moment when you realize the person you trusted most in the world, the one you would have died for, was slowly destroying you the entire time. And the worst part? You helped them do it. You opened every door. You ignored every warning. You silenced every voice that tried to save you. Because you believed in them. Because you loved them. Because you thought loyalty meant never giving up, even when giving up would have saved your life. My name is Theresa. If you like this story, if you enjoy this channel, please like, subscribe, and share before you continue this story. I grew up in a small town in Ohio where everybody knew everybody. You know, the kind of place where your neighbors still bring you casseroles when someone dies, where the high school football games are the biggest event of the week, where secrets don't stay secret for long but people pretend they do. My mama raised me and my two brothers on her own after my dad walked out when I was 7. She worked double shifts at the diner, came home smelling like grease and coffee, and still managed to make us feel like we had everything we needed. She taught me something that shaped my entire life, something I can still hear in her voice even now. Theresa, baby, all you got in this world is your word and your loyalty. You stand by the people you love. You don't turn your back. Ever. And I believed that. God, I believed that with everything in me. I wasn't the prettiest girl in school. I wasn't the smartest. But I was the one people could count on. If you needed help moving, I was there. If you needed someone to cover your shift, I'd do it. If you needed a place to crash, my couch was yours. I wore that loyalty like armor. It made me feel valuable. Important. Like I mattered. When I was 23, I met Marcus. He came into the bank where I worked as a teller. Tall, confident, with this smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. He was opening a business account, said he was starting a consulting company, helping small businesses with their marketing. He dressed nice. Spoke well. Had this way of making everything sound exciting and possible. We started talking. Then texting. Then dating. Within 3 months, I was in love. Marcus made me feel seen in a way I'd never experienced before. He'd show up at my apartment with my favorite takeout just because. He'd leave little notes on my car. He talked about the future like it was already ours, house, kids, growing old together. He told me I was different from other women. That I had this rare quality most people didn't have anymore. Loyalty. He said he'd been burned before by people who claimed to love him but disappeared the second things got hard. He said he could tell I wasn't like that. That I was the real deal. And I ate it up. Every word. Looking back now, I can see it so clearly. But when you're in it, when someone is telling you exactly what your heart has been starving to hear, you don't question it. You just believe. 6 months in, Marcus moved into my apartment. It made sense, he was always there anyway, and he said he wanted to save money to invest more in his business. I didn't mind. I loved waking up next to him. I loved building a life together. He started asking me about my finances. How much I made. What I had in savings. Whether I had good credit. I'm just thinking about our future, babe, he'd say. We're a team now. We should be transparent about everything. So I told him. Everything. Because that's what you do when you trust someone, right? You don't hide. You don't keep secrets. I told him about the $18,000 I'd saved up since high school. Money I'd been putting away for years, planning to maybe buy a house one day or go back to school. I told him my credit score was pretty good, I'd always been careful with money, never had debt, always paid everything on time. He smiled and kissed my forehead. You're amazing, you know that. You're gonna help us build something incredible. And I felt so proud. If you're watching this and you've ever felt that pull, that desire to be someone's rock, to be the loyal one, the dependable one, drop a comment below. Tell me I'm not alone in this. Because I need you to know, you're not either. Marcus's business started growing, or at least that's what he told me. He was always on his phone, always in meetings, always talking about these big deals that were about to close. He'd come home stressed sometimes, pacing the apartment, saying things like, "Man, if I just had a little more capital, I could really scale this thing." One night, about 8 months into our relationship, he sat me down. "Theresa, I need to be real with you about something," he said, taking my hands. "This business, it's right on the edge of breaking through. I've got clients lined up. I've got contracts ready to sign. But I need to invest in better equipment, better software, maybe hire an assistant. The problem is, the bank won't give me a loan yet because the business is too new." He paused, looking at me with those eyes that had never lied to me before. "I know this is a lot to ask, but would you be willing to help me? Just as a loan. I'll pay you back with interest as soon as the contracts come through. Probably within 3 months, max." My stomach fluttered. Not with fear, with purpose. This was it. This was my chance to prove what I'd been taught my whole life. Stand by your people. Don't turn your back. Be loyal. "How much do you need?" I asked. 10,000 would change everything, he said quietly. I gave him 12. I took it out of my savings the next day and handed him a check. He held me so tight I could barely breathe, whispering, "Thank you," over and over into my hair. "You just invested in our future, baby. You're not gonna regret this. I promise." And I believed him. God help me, I believed every single word.
The first month after I gave Marcus that money, everything felt normal. Good even. He seemed more relaxed, more focused. He'd work from the apartment, taking calls that sounded important, typing away on his laptop for hours. He'd tell me about meetings that went well, clients who were impressed, deals that were this close to closing. I'd come home from the bank, and he'd have dinner started. We'd talk about our day. We'd watch TV on the couch. It felt like we were building something real. But then little things started happening. Small things. The kind of things that, when you're telling someone about them later, sound so obvious. But when you're living them, when you're in love, you explain them away. You make excuses. You tell yourself you're being paranoid or untrusting. The first thing I noticed was my credit card statement. I was going through my mail one evening, and I saw a charge I didn't recognize. $347 at some restaurant I'd never heard of. I frowned, looking at the date. That was a Tuesday. I'd been at work. Marcus had been. I didn't actually know where he'd been that day. "Hey babe," I called out to him. He was in the bedroom. "Did you use my credit card last week? There's a charge here. I don't remember." He came out, barely looking up from his phone. "Oh yeah, sorry. I had a client dinner, and my card got declined. I grabbed yours from your wallet. I was gonna tell you, but it slipped my mind. I'll Venmo you." "It's okay," I said quickly. Too quickly. "You don't have to." No, I will. I promise." He never did. And I never brought it up again. See, that's the thing about the first red flag. When you ignore it, you set a precedent. You teach the other person and yourself that it's okay, that you won't make a big deal about things, that you're easygoing, loyal, understanding. A few weeks later, I noticed another charge. Then another. Always with a reasonable explanation. Always with an apology. Always with a promise to pay me back. The amounts got bigger. $500. $890. $1,200. "It's for the business, babe. I'm about to close this huge contract with a retail chain. Once that happens, I'll pay off the whole card. I promise." I wanted to believe him. No, I needed to believe him. Because if I didn't believe him, then what did that make me? Untrusting? A bad partner? The kind of woman who doesn't support her man? My mama's voice echoed in my head. You stand by the people you love.
So I stood by him.
3 months after I'd given him that first $12,000, I asked him about paying it back. We were in bed, and I tried to make my voice sound casual, light. Like it wasn't a big deal. Hey, so remember that loan? For the business? You said it'd probably be about 3 months. He went quiet for a moment. Then he rolled over to face me, and his expression was hurt. Wounded. Wow, he said softly. I didn't realize you were keeping track like that. My heart dropped. I'm not keeping track, It's cool, Theresa. I get it. You don't trust me. That's not what I said.
You don't have to say it.
I can feel it. He sat up, running his hands through his hair. You know what? Forget it. Forget the whole business. I'll just get a regular job somewhere. Clearly, you don't believe in what I'm building. Panic flooded through me. Marcus, no. I do believe in you. I was just asking. You were just asking for your money back. Like I'm some kind of deadbeat. He stood up, grabbing his phone. I've been working my ass off every single day trying to build something for us, and you're nickel-and-diming me. I got out of bed, following him. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean it like that.
I trust you. I do. He stopped, looking at me with those eyes that could still make me feel like I was drowning. Do you? Yes, I whispered. I'm sorry. Take all the time you need. I shouldn't have brought it up. He pulled me into his arms. I love you, Theresa. Everything I'm doing is for us. You know that, right? I know. I just need you to be patient with me.
Can you do that? Yes.
I can do that. And just like that, I was the one apologizing. I was the one who felt guilty for asking about my own money. If you're watching this and something in your gut is screaming right now, comment below. Because I want you to know that feeling, that voice that says something's not right here, that's not paranoia. That's your soul trying to save you. The charges on my credit card kept coming. When I bring them up, gently, carefully, Marcus would get defensive. Or hurt. Or he'd turn it around on me. I thought we were partners, Theresa. Partners support each other. I thought you said you loved me unconditionally. Was that a lie? If you're gonna treat me like I'm some kind of criminal, maybe I should just leave. That last one always worked. The threat of him leaving. It made my chest tight, made me panic, made me immediately backtrack and apologize and reassure him that I didn't mean it, that I was just stressed about money, that everything was fine. My savings account got lower and lower. My credit card balance got higher and higher. I started picking up extra shifts at the bank. I stopped buying new clothes. I'd make excuses when my friends wanted to go out because I couldn't afford it anymore. One of my best friends, Maya, pulled me aside one day after I'd canceled lunch plans for the 3rd time. Theresa, what's going on with you? Nothing. I'm just busy. Busy or broke? I forced a laugh.
What? No.
I'm fine. She looked at me for a long moment. Is Marcus working yet? My defenses went up immediately. He has his own business. He's working hard.
Right.
The business you told me about. The one you gave him 12 grand for 6 months ago. Maya, have you seen any of that money back? It takes time to build a business. Theresa. She grabbed my hands. I love you. You're my best friend. And I'm watching you disappear.
You're not eating right.
You're stressed all the time. You're broke. And that man is living in your apartment, using your money, and from what I can tell, doing absolutely nothing to contribute. My eyes burned with tears, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry ones. You don't know him like I do. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Because from where I'm standing, this doesn't look like love. It looks like... Don't. I pulled my hands back. Don't do this. Like he's using you, Theresa. I stood up, grabbing my purse. I have to go. Theresa, wait. But I was already walking away. I didn't talk to Maya for 2 months after that. She tried calling, texting, even showed up at my apartment once, but I didn't answer. Because hearing the truth out loud, even from someone who loved me, felt like a betrayal of Marcus. And I'd been taught my whole life that loyalty meant standing by your people, even when standing by them meant standing against yourself. Marcus noticed the distance between me and Maya. One night, he brought it up. "I'm glad you cut that toxic friend out of your life," he said, kissing the top of my head. "She was always jealous of what we have. You're better off without people like that." And I nodded. I agreed. I let him rewrite the narrative in my head until I actually believed that Maya was the problem. Not him. Never him. By the time we'd been together for a year, I was $24,000 in debt. My credit card was maxed out. My savings account was empty. I was behind on my rent. I'd stopped answering calls from my mother because I couldn't bear to lie to her anymore about how well I was doing. But I told myself it was temporary. That Marcus's business was going to take off any day now. That all of this struggle was just part of the journey. That couples who build something together always go through hard times first. I told myself I was being loyal, strong, a good partner. I told myself this was love. And I almost believed it. Waiting for your command to continue to the next act. The day my world collapsed started like any other Tuesday. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. Marcus was still asleep, sprawled across most of the bed like he always was. I got ready quietly, kissed his forehead, and left for work. I remember feeling tired. Bone-deep tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. I'd been at the bank for about 3 hours when my manager, Patricia, called me into her office. My stomach dropped immediately. Patricia never called people into her office unless something was wrong. "Theresa, sit down," she said, and her voice was gentle. Too gentle. I sat. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." She folded her hands on her desk. "Have you been accessing customer accounts without authorization?" The room tilted.
What? No.
Never. Why would you? We've been running routine audits, and there have been some irregularities flagged on your login. Multiple instances over the past 6 months where accounts were accessed outside of normal transaction protocols. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Patricia, I swear to God, I would never." "I believe you," she said, and something in her tone made me stop. "But I need you to think very carefully. Has anyone else had access to your login credentials? Your password? Your employee ID?" And that's when it hit me. 3 months ago, Marcus had asked to use my laptop because his was acting up. I'd left it open on the kitchen table while I showered. My bank employee portal had been logged in because I'd been checking something during my lunch break. "Oh my God," I whispered. Patricia's face confirmed what I was thinking. "Theresa, how bad is it?" She pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk to me. Inside were printouts, screenshots, account histories, all accessed from my login. All during times when I was logged in at home, not at work. 17 different accounts. Small withdrawals. Nothing big enough to trigger immediate red flags. $200 here. $350 there. $500 from another. All transferred to various accounts I didn't recognize. The total, $8,740. "The police are going to need to be involved," Patricia said quietly. "And, Theresa, I'm so sorry, but I have to suspend you pending investigation." I don't remember leaving her office. I don't remember driving home. I just remember standing outside my apartment door, key in hand, and suddenly knowing that everything I was about to find was going to destroy me. I opened the door. Marcus was on the couch on his phone, laughing at something. He looked up when I walked in. "Hey babe, you're home early. Did you steal from the bank?" My voice didn't sound like mine. It was hollow.
Dead.
His expression shifted so fast. Confusion. Then concern. "What are you talking about?" "My login. My employee account. Did you use it to access customer accounts and steal money?" "Theresa, what? Are you serious right now? Is this about the business again? Are you really accusing me?" "Marcus." I was shaking. "I just got suspended from my job. The police are getting involved. There are records. Transfers. $8,000 stolen from customer accounts using my login." He stood up. Started pacing. running his hands through his hair like he did when he was stressed.
But something was different this time.
Something in his eyes. "I can explain," he said. Those 3 words. That's all it took. I can explain. Not "I didn't do it." Not "that's insane." Not "we'll fight this together." I can explain. "Oh my God," I breathed. "You did it. Baby, listen to me. You stole money. Using my account. You've been stealing money and letting me take the fall for it." "It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Marcus?" I was screaming now. Screaming in a way I'd never screamed before. "What is it like?" He grabbed my shoulders, looked me right in the eyes. "I did it for us. The business needed capital. I was going to pay it all back before anyone noticed. I was going to make this right." I shoved him off me. "The business? What business, Marcus? Where is this business? Where are the clients? Where is any of it? It takes time. It's been a year." I was sobbing now. Full body sobbing. A year of my money, my credit cards, my savings, and now my job. My entire life. And for what? For what? He tried to move toward me again. "Theresa, please. Show me the business.
Right now.
Show me the LLC registration. Show me the client contracts. Show me anything that proves this business exists." Silence. He just stood there. And in that silence, I finally saw him. Really saw him. Not the man I'd fallen in love with. Not the man I'd built a future with in my head. But the man who had been standing in front of me the entire time. A stranger. A liar. A thief. "Get out," I whispered. "Baby. Get out of my apartment. Right now. Can we just talk about this? Get out." I grabbed his jacket off the chair and threw it at him. "Get out, get out, get out." He left. Not because I'd finally stood up to him, but because he knew the game was over. He grabbed his laptop, his charger, and walked out the door without looking back. And I collapsed. I collapsed on that floor, and I cried like something inside me had died. Because something had. The version of me who believed in fairy tales. The version of me who thought loyalty was enough. The version of me who believed that loving someone hard enough could make them love you back the right way.
She died that day.
If you're watching this and you've ever had a moment where your entire reality shattered, where everything you believed turned out to be a lie, please subscribe to this channel. Because I need you to know you're not alone. I need you to know that what happened to you is real, and your pain is valid, and you're not crazy for believing someone you loved. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because this story isn't over yet. And maybe, just maybe, hearing how it ends will help you write your own ending. I spent the rest of that day calling numbers, trying to figure out what was real. The business phone number Marcus had shown me? Disconnected. The office space he said he'd been working out of? When I drove there, it was a WeWork where he'd had a day pass.
Twice.
The client emails he'd shown me? When I looked closer at the screenshots on his laptop that he'd left behind in his rush, I realized they were all fake. Templates. Conversations he'd created with himself using burner email addresses. There was no business. There had never been a business. Everything, every single thing he'd told me for an entire year was a lie. I found other things too. Things I wish I could unsee. Dating app profiles, still active. Messages to other women. Some from months ago. Some from weeks ago. The same lines he'd used on me. The same promises. The same, "You're different from other women." I found receipts. That $347 dinner I'd asked him about? It wasn't a client dinner. It was a date. With someone named Jennifer. I found Venmo transactions. Money I'd given him that he'd immediately sent to other people. Friends I'd never heard of. Women whose names showed up over and over. He hadn't been building a business. He'd been building a life. Multiple lives. With multiple women. All of us funding it. All of us believing we were special. I threw up. Right there, sitting on my apartment floor with his laptop open. I threw up. The police came 2 days later. They asked me questions. Took my statement. Told me I'd probably face charges unless I could prove I wasn't involved. But I wasn't involved. I kept saying. He used my login. He stole my information. Ma'am, we understand. But legally, you're responsible for your employee credentials. The bank will likely pursue charges. You'll need a lawyer. A lawyer? With what money? I was $24,000 in debt. Suspended from my job. My rent was overdue. I had $47 in my checking account. And Marcus? Marcus had disappeared. Blocked my number. Blocked me on everything. Like I'd never existed. Like we'd never existed. I sat in my empty apartment that night. He'd taken things when he left, things I didn't even realize until later, my TV, my nice headphones, even some of my jewelry, and I asked myself the question I'd been avoiding for months. How did I let this happen? How did someone who thought she was so loyal, so strong, so smart, how did I become this? A woman with nothing. A woman who'd lost everything because she loved someone who never existed. And the answer that came back broke me all over again. Because I confused loyalty with self-destruction. I confused love with sacrifice. I confused standing by someone with standing still while they destroyed me. My mama taught me to be loyal, but she never taught me that loyalty to someone else can't come before loyalty to yourself. And I'd forgotten that I mattered too. Waiting for your command to continue to the next act. The weeks after Marcus left were the darkest of my entire life. I've heard people talk about rock bottom like it's this one moment, this singular point where you hit the ground and then you start climbing back up. But that's not what it was like for me. For me, rock bottom was a place I lived in. A place where every single day brought a new way to fall even further. The bank fired me. Not suspended, fired. They said the investigation showed negligence with employee credentials and that even though they couldn't prove I was directly involved in the theft, they couldn't keep me employed. My manager Patricia pulled me aside on my last day, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "I'm so sorry, Theresa. I fought for you, but corporate wouldn't budge." I cleaned out my desk in silence while former coworkers watched. Some looked at me with pity. Others looked at me like I was a criminal. Nobody knew what to say, so nobody said anything. I walked out of that bank with a cardboard box of my belongings and the knowledge that my entire professional reputation was destroyed. 2 weeks later, my landlord served me an eviction notice. I was 3 months behind on rent. I begged him for more time. Told him what happened. Told him I'd get the money somehow. He was sympathetic but firm. "Theresa, I have bills too. I'm sorry about what happened to you, but I can't carry you anymore. You have 30 days. 30 days to figure out where I was going to live." I tried applying for jobs.
Any jobs.
Retail, restaurants, coffee shops, anything. But I'd been fired from a bank for suspected theft. That showed up on background checks. That came up in interviews. Can you explain this gap in employment? Can you explain why you left your previous position? Can you provide a reference from your last employer?
No.
I stopped getting callbacks. Stopped getting interviews. Stopped getting hope. I called my mom. Finally, after months of avoiding her calls, I broke down and told her everything. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then she said, "Baby, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you ask for help?" "Because I was ashamed," I sobbed. "Because I felt so stupid. Because you taught me to be loyal and I thought I was doing the right thing." "Oh, baby."
No.
Her voice cracked. "That's not what I meant. That's not what I taught you. Loyalty don't mean letting someone destroy you. Loyalty to yourself comes first. Always." But it was too late for that lesson. She offered to send me money, but I knew she didn't have any to send. She was still working double shifts at that same diner, still barely making ends meet herself. I couldn't take from her. I wouldn't. Maya reached out. Finally. After months of silence. She showed up at my apartment with groceries and just held me while I cried. Didn't say, "I told you so."
Didn't lecture me.
Just held me. "I'm here," she kept saying. "I'm here. You're not alone." But I was alone. Even with her there, I felt completely alone. Because the person I thought I was, the person I'd built my entire identity around, was gone. And I didn't know who was left. I moved in with Maya when my eviction was finalized. Slept on her couch for 3 months. Watched her go to work every morning while I sat in her apartment, sending out job applications that went nowhere, trying to figure out how to rebuild a life from ashes. The debt collectors started calling. The credit card companies. Collections agencies. People wanting money I didn't have for charges I didn't make but was legally responsible for. My credit score plummeted. 780 down to 490 in a matter of months. I filed a police report against Marcus. Gave them everything, the laptop evidence, the fake emails, the messages to other women, the transaction records. They said they'd investigate. 6 months later, they told me they couldn't find him. He'd used a fake last name, a fake social security number, the address he'd given me when we met, an abandoned building, his phone number, a burner that was now disconnected. "We're sorry, ma'am," the detective said. "But without more information, this case is going cold. He's likely done this before. He's a professional." A professional. That's what they called him. Like ruining lives was a career. Like breaking people was a skill. I asked the detective, "Do you think there are other women? Other people he did this to?" He looked at me with this expression that made my stomach drop. "Ma'am, in my experience, you're probably not the first. And you're probably not the last." Something about that broke me in a new way. The idea that while I was sitting here, destroyed, thinking I was special, thinking our love was special, there was probably another woman somewhere going through the exact same thing. Believing the exact same lies. Giving away the exact same pieces of herself. And there was nothing I could do to warn her. I started having panic attacks. The first one happened in a grocery store. I was standing in the checkout line and the total came to $47.83, and I only had $50 in my account, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. My chest got tight. The room started spinning. I abandoned my cart and ran outside, gasping for air, convinced I was dying. Maya found me sitting on the curb, tears streaming down my face. "I can't do this," I kept saying. "I can't do this anymore." "Yes, you can," she said firmly. "You can, and you will. One day at a time, Theresa. 1 hour at a time if you have to. But what's the point of surviving if you've lost everything that made you want to live?" I stopped eating regularly. Dropped 23 pounds in 2 months. Not because I was trying to, just because food didn't matter anymore. Nothing mattered anymore. I stopped sleeping through the night. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with this crushing weight on my chest, replaying every moment. Every red flag I ignored. Every warning sign I explained away. Every time someone tried to tell me the truth, and I chose to believe his lies instead. I'd lie there in the dark on Maya's couch and hate myself. Hate myself for being so stupid.
So naive.
So desperate to be loved that I let someone take everything. The worst part wasn't even the money. It wasn't the debt or the job or the ruined credit or the eviction. The worst part was the betrayal of myself. Because I knew, deep down I knew something was wrong. My gut had been screaming at me for months. My friends had been warning me. My own common sense had been flashing red lights. And I ignored all of it. I silenced every voice, including my own, because I wanted so desperately to believe in him. In us. In the fairy tale. I chose him over me. Every single time. Until there was no me left to choose. That's what I couldn't forgive. Not what he did to me, but what I let him do. Happened. I thought about it. He'd get defensive. Or hurt. Or turn it around on me. Exactly. He trained you to stop questioning him. That's not you being weak. That's textbook manipulation. And it works because it targets good people.
People who care.
People who want to give others the benefit of the doubt. I cried. But this time, they weren't tears of self-hatred. They were tears of grief. Grief for the girl I'd been. The girl who believed in love and loyalty and happy endings. "That girl isn't dead," Dr. Williams said, like she could read my mind. "She's wounded, but she's not dead. And she's a lot stronger than you think." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But wanting to believe something and actually believing it are two very different things. It took me 4 months to find a job. A warehouse job, overnight shifts, loading boxes. It paid $13 an hour. It was hard, physical labor that left me exhausted and sore. But it was money. It was a start. I worked that job for 8 months. Saved every penny I could. Paid Maya back for letting me stay with her. Started chipping away at the debt. $50 at a time. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't the life I'd imagined. But it was mine. Built by my own hands. Earned through my own effort. Nobody could take it from me. And slowly, so slowly, I barely noticed at first, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not happiness. Not yet. But something close. Something like hope. Two years after Marcus walked out of my life, I was standing in line at a coffee shop when I saw him. He was with a woman. Young, maybe 25.
Pretty.
She was laughing at something he said, looking at him the way I used to look at him, like he hung the moon. My heart stopped. Then it started racing. My hands went numb. He didn't see me. He was too focused on her. Doing that thing he used to do, leaning in close, touching her arm, making her feel like she was the only person in the world. I watched him pay for her coffee with what looked like her credit card. Watched her smile and kiss his cheek. Watched them walk out together, his hand on the small of her back. And I knew she had no idea what was coming. I knew she was probably already in deep, probably already giving him money, already making excuses for red flags, already choosing him over herself. I wanted to run after her, grab her shoulders, shake her, tell her to run. But I didn't. Because I'd learned something in those 2 years. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can scream the truth at them, but until they're ready to hear it, until they're ready to save themselves, your words are just noise. I know that sounds harsh, maybe even cruel, but it's the truth. I had people trying to save me. Maya, my coworkers, probably even strangers who saw things I didn't. And I didn't listen. Not because I was stupid, but because I wasn't ready. So I let her walk away with him. And I said a quiet prayer that she'd wake up faster than I did. Then I ordered my coffee and went on with my day. Because that's the thing about healing, real healing. It's not about revenge. It's not about making the person who hurt you pay. It's about reaching a place where seeing them doesn't destroy you anymore. And I was finally there. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't completely healed. I still had debt. I still had bad credit.
I still had nightmares sometimes.
I still had moments where I'd be doing something completely normal, and suddenly I'd remember something he said or did, and I'd feel that familiar wave of shame and anger wash over me. But those moments were getting further apart. And when they came, they didn't swallow me whole anymore. I'd gotten promoted at the warehouse. I was a shift supervisor now, making $18 an hour. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. And there was something healing about doing physical labor, about moving boxes and loading trucks, and being so tired at the end of the day that I'd fall asleep before the dark thoughts could catch up. I'd moved into my own studio apartment. It was tiny, just 400 square feet, but it was mine. I'd furnished it slowly, piece by piece, from thrift stores and Facebook Marketplace. Every item had a story. Every item I'd paid for myself. Nobody could take it from me. I'd started paying off my debt. It was slow, $100 here, $200 there, but I was making progress. I got my credit score back up to 590. Still not great, but better than the 490 it had been. I'd even started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee dates. Dinner. Getting to know people. Learning to trust again. One small step at a time. And I'd learned to spot the red flags. Oh man, had I learned. The first guy I went on a date with after Marcus seemed nice at first. Charming. Attentive. But on our second date, when the check came, he just sat there. Smiled at me. Waited. You got this one, right? I'm a little short this week. Old Theresa would have paid. Would have made an excuse for him. would have told herself it was just one time, no big deal. New Theresa said, "Actually, I'm not comfortable with that. I think we should split it." He got defensive.
Wow, okay.
"I thought you were cool. Guess I was wrong." "I am cool," I said calmly. "But I'm also not a bank. If you can't afford to date right now, that's okay. But it's not my responsibility to fund your social life." He left. Didn't even pay his half. And you know what? I didn't care. I paid the bill, left a good tip, and went home feeling lighter than I had in years. Because I'd stood up for myself. I'd set a boundary. And when he tried to make me feel guilty for it, I didn't back down. That's growth. Dr. Williams and I still met every other week. We'd been working through something she called trauma bonding and love bombing, and all these terms I'd never heard before, but that explained everything about my relationship with Marcus. "You weren't in love with him," she told me one session. "You were in love with who he pretended to be. You were addicted to the highs he gave you, the attention, the future faking, the intensity. That's not love. That's manipulation. Future faking. That was a big one. All those conversations about the house we'd buy, the kids we'd have, the life we'd build. None of it was real. It was just bait to keep me hooked." "The real Marcus?" Dr. Williams continued. "You never knew him. Because he never showed you. Everything was a performance. That helped. Knowing that I hadn't lost someone real. I'd lost an illusion. And illusions can't hurt you once you see them for what they are." I reconnected with my mom. Really reconnected. We started talking every Sunday, and I stopped hiding things from her. Stopped pretending I had it all together. One Sunday, she said something that made me cry. "Theresa, I'm so proud of you." "For what?" "For being stupid enough to lose everything. For being strong enough to rebuild. Baby, some people go through what you went through, and they never recover. They stay bitter. They stay broken.
But you?
You got up. You fought your way back. That takes courage." I don't feel courageous. Courage ain't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. And you've been doing that every single day for 2 years now. Maybe she was right. I started writing. Just for myself at first. In a journal Maya had given me. I'd write about what happened. About how I felt. About what I'd learned. And slowly, those journal entries turned into something else.
A blog.
Nothing big, just a little WordPress site where I'd share my story anonymously. I called it Lessons in Loyalty. The first post I wrote was titled, "The Difference Between Love and Manipulation." I didn't expect anyone to read it, but within a week, I had dozens of comments. Women, mostly women, but some men too, sharing their own stories. Telling me they'd been through the same thing. Thanking me for putting words to something they couldn't explain. One comment stuck with me. It said, "I'm currently in a relationship that sounds exactly like what you described. I've been making excuses for him for months. But reading this, I think I needed to see this. Thank you for being brave enough to share." And that's when I realized my pain had purpose. Not because it had to. Not because everything happens for a reason or any of that spiritual bypass nonsense. But because I could choose to give it purpose. I could choose to turn my worst experience into something that might help someone else. That's what this YouTube channel is about. That's why I'm sitting here, telling you this story. Because if even one person hears this and recognizes themselves, recognizes the red flags, the manipulation, the slow erosion of their self-worth, and chooses to walk away before they lose everything, then maybe it was all worth it. If you've made it this far in this story, I need you to do something for me. I need you to subscribe to this channel. Not just for me, but for yourself. Because healing isn't a one-time thing. It's a journey. And maybe, just maybe, the stories here will be part of your journey. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because there are more stories coming. More lessons. More truth. And comment below, tell me your story. Tell me what you've survived. Tell me what you're still surviving. Because you're not alone. You were never alone. So what would I tell my younger self? The girl who was about to meet Marcus in that bank 2 years ago? I'd tell her this. Your loyalty is beautiful. Your capacity to love is a gift. But baby, Those things are meant to be given to people who deserve them. And someone who deserves your loyalty will never make you choose between loving them and loving yourself. Red flags aren't stop signs. They're warnings. And ignoring them doesn't make you loyal. It makes you complicit in your own destruction. You are allowed to walk away. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to stop investing in someone who isn't investing in you. That's not giving up. That's self-preservation. And here's the big one. Love shouldn't cost you everything. Real love adds to your life. It doesn't subtract. It doesn't drain. It doesn't leave you empty and broke and wondering who you are anymore. If loving someone means losing yourself, that's not love. That's sacrifice. And you're not required to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. I'd also tell her this. What's coming is going to hurt. It's going to hurt worse than anything you've ever experienced. You're going to lose things you thought defined you. You're going to question everything you believed about love and trust and yourself. But you're going to survive. And not just survive, you're going to become someone stronger. Someone wiser. Someone who knows her worth and won't settle for less. You're going to become the woman you needed when you were going through it. It's been 3 years now since Marcus left. 3 years of rebuilding. 3 years of therapy and hard work and choosing myself over and over again, even when it felt impossible. My debt is almost paid off. My credit score is back up to 680. I got a new job, working at a nonprofit that helps women escaping financial abuse. Turns out, my experience made me perfect for the role. I help women file police reports. I help them navigate debt relief programs. I help them find resources, shelters, therapists, legal aid. I help them understand that what happened to them wasn't their fault. And every time I do, I heal a little more. I'm dating someone now. His name is David. He's kind, patient. He has a steady job and pays his own bills and has never once asked me for money. When I told him my story, all of it, he didn't run. He didn't judge. He just held my hand and said, "Thank you for trusting me with that. I promise I'll never give you a reason to doubt me." And so far, he hasn't. I'm not saying it's perfect. I still have trust issues. I still panic sometimes when he doesn't text back right away. I still check his phone occasionally when he's in the shower, and I hate myself for it. But I'm working on it. In therapy. In journaling. In giving myself grace for not being completely healed yet. Because healing isn't linear. Some days I feel strong and whole and proud of how far I've come. Other days I feel broken and scared and angry all over again. Both are okay. Both are part of the process. The other day, I was going through old boxes and I found a photo of Marcus and me. We were at the beach, his arm around me, both of us smiling like we didn't have a care in the world.